When it comes to comic book artists that changed the landscape of comic books, there's only a handful of them. And one of those at the top of anyone's list is Todd McFarlane, and co-creator of Eddie Brock's Venom. But he's probably best known for creating his own comic book character, Spawn. Not only was this a best-selling comic book in the early 90s, it even spawned a live-action Spawn movie, and that led to a Spawn action figure line. Released in 1994, this was a game changer for the toy industry. The big toy companies, Mattel, Hasbro, they thought toys were just made for kids. But McFarlane knew the landscape was changing. There was a growing market of toy collectors that wanted more than just a simple action figure. They wanted an action figure that was a work of art, and McFarlane delivered with his Spawn toy line. Soon the bigger toy companies were trying to play catch-up, trying to appeal to those adult collectors that McFarlane knew was there all along. And now Junkman and his buddy Russ have an exclusive interview with Todd McFarlane. Here he is, the legend, the man, McFarlane. Changed comic books, changed the toy industry,
Absolutely.
and does so much more. And I see a very cool Spawn poster back there.
Changed the diapers of my 3 kids.
Oh, and he changed his diaper.
Absolutely. He does it all, ladies and gentlemen.
This man can change anything.
There's a lot of change in my life.
Well, I know we're going to talk about your Kickstarter, your your medieval
There you go.
Spawn line. We took a look at it. It looks really interesting. Then I got some fan questions. They wanted to ask you some stuff. And then we got stuff we like to ask you also. But
Okay, perfect. Well, we're doing an interview, so that's it. It's usually Q&A, so you got questions. This is going to work good because I'm going to give you answers.
Okay, that's why we're all here. I got the questions, you got the answers, and
okay. Can I just do a little thing at the beginning here?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
go ahead.
Okay. So I'm going to be doing double duty. I'm going to be doing an interview and I'm going to be working. Okay.
Man,
So if you see my head down, which is like this, it's because I got a pen in my hand, right? And I've got to sign all the signing plates for this Kickstarter. So
wow.
Okay.
I'm signing the plates. I'm signing the plates for the Kickstarter right now. So I got to get these out the door here in the next couple of days. So
Absolutely.
I've got to basically sign and talk at the same time, because otherwise people go, Todd, how come you didn't get my Kickstarter to me fast enough? And I'll go, because I was doing interviews. But there's a chance I could be signing your plate as I'm doing your interview. So who knows?
That's awesome.
That's good.
We can appreciate multitasking, so it's not a problem for us. We won't take it personally. You know?
All right. So
let me ask you about Kickstarter and action figures. Do you think that's the future that we're going to see? Because Mattel's doing Kickstarter, fundraising stuff. Hasbro does it. You're doing it.
Crowdfunding. Yeah.
Crowdfunding. Do you think that's the future of toys?
No. I think it's an option, which is different than the future, right? I think what I like to experiment with is what are the different options on being able to try to get my art to people, right? And that's, for me, that's all it is. For Mattel and stuff, it may be trying to get their art, but more so how to, like, different places, options of how to make money, right? Because they're a public company. Sure. So depends what your goals are, whatever else. So I think it's a valid outlet to try and do something. I don't think it's the only one. Why? Because I've got a toy company that we do it drastically different, and we put it through retail stores, in the way that normally things have been done for the last 100 years at retail. Right? You give it to somebody, middleman, they mark it up, they put it on their shelf, and the consumer comes, and then if it sells, you keep going, and they order more, and if it doesn't, they ask you to give them some money back, right?
Right.
But where Kickstarter, I think Kickstarter for the most part is a great device for people who have a great idea, and there's plenty of people who have great ideas, but they don't have the backing financially. I think it's the one piece that holds people back is the financial piece, and that now there are options where people can actually find the funding for their great ideas is amazing. Mattel and myself use it for different reasons. I don't know why they use it, but the reason that I'll do it is because I know that to do a product like I'm about to do here with this Kickstarter, if I had done the exact same product and gave it to the retailers and knowing their markup and what the product would come out at $100 at retail.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
So
right.
if I can get it to them in the 50s, 50% discount, then I think it's worth trying, right? The rule for me has always been give them the most quality at the fairest price, and that will always succeed. And so I went, I don't know, this is going to be too expensive to do and put it in the store. So why don't we just figure it out on our own and be able to do it at a fair, what I think is a fair price.
And you've had tremendous success so far. Your first Kickstarter, I mean, $3.5 million, and this one fully funded on I believe the day it was launched. And you got,
funded in 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
The first one I think took 10 or 8. This one did it in 2. So, but we knew. I mean, again, we had a lot of success, right? We had a lot of success on that first one. So I knew that as I sort of warned my team, if we do half of what we did on the first one, and there was a pandemic, so people were at home and they had extra money. If we do half, it's still going to be a wildly successful venture. And as a matter of fact, even where it sits right now at about 1.7 is now the second biggest in the toy category, only behind the first one that I did 4 years ago, which was the original one. So we now have the top 2. And between now and the end of the campaign, and there's usually a bit of a mad rush at the end, I mean, we'll push it, right? My guess is we'll end up somewhere maybe between like 2 and 2.4 or something like that. I mean, not anywhere near where the first one was, but I didn't offer as many options and on the menu as I did this way, because I wanted to keep it simple so that I could. The record I want to set is just speed of delivery. That's the record I want to set for a manufactured toy. I want to get it into your hands faster than anybody else has been able to on Kickstarter.
Right, and I was reading your projections. You wanted to get this out to everybody, hopefully, by the end of the year, or you're going to hit it immediately as the campaign closes.
Yeah, some people will have it in their hands like before Christmas. Some people way before Christmas. Again, I can't guarantee every single one.
Sure,
but I'm saying that before Christmas, yes, we're going to be shipping at least some, and I'm hoping the most of them. But I can't. I'm being careful so that somebody doesn't mishear me. But our goal. I was just on the phone to the factory today, is to go, guys, get prepared, and they're getting prepared, and they're just waiting for these so they can do the 3-packs.
So that's great. Yeah. And that kind of leads into my next question is in trying to get everything processed so quickly and get it out to consumers, which as a consumer, I appreciate not having to wait 6 months for something that I purchased. How do you go about cutting off problems with quality and making sure everything's just the way you want it before it goes out the door?
Well, for me in this particular case, we did it all in advance. We did not all of it, but at least I'd say 90%. We did 90% of the tweaking and the engineering and the going back and forth before we even said launch the campaign.
Awesome.
Okay? So I didn't want to waste time with things that I knew was going to take time, and start worrying about it after the campaign. So we've been working on this thing for quite some time to get it to where we wanted to get it, so that when we hit the button and said launch, that I had full confidence, my team had full confidence that we could get the product out. We've already done our troubleshooting as much as possible, although there's going to be tweaks along the way, but nothing dramatic. There's not going to be nothing dramatic. And we'll solve it along the way. And then the only thing the factory's waiting for is the final numbers. And they're saying, hey, Todd, I've prepared them, make the equal amount of everything that I've given you.
Oh,
and
cool.
just assume in terms of the accessories. Just assume I'm going to include everything, and all you're going to hear from me is what you have to pull out. But if you don't bake the cookies now, you're not going to have them, and so they're making this stuff, right? Like right now, they're literally making all the parts, and they're going every day they've been making parts to the point they just shipped me 10,000 of the plates, right? So
right.
It was one part, right? They got 10,000 of them they just shipped. So
and you have a lot of accessories that are tier levels for this figure. I mean, your medieval spawn could potentially come with his own armory with all the accessories. How did you plan out what you wanted him to come with and what would come with each level down the way?
What do you mean? Just cool shit. What are you talking about?
Absolutely.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, who doesn't want that?
You almost want to just buy the accessories.
Right. Who don't want this? Who don't want that? Like, here's a screaming head. Who don't want a screaming head? Like, what are you talking about? Big shields with a magnet so that you just go bap and it's on.
I was going to praise you for including the magnetics, and it's a beautiful figure.
Look at this one. This is one of my favorites. So I don't know if you can see this one.
Oh, yeah.
This is the one where the helmet comes up and
it actually comes up.
Oh, that's neat.
And there's a face in it.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Right. He's cool. Like, so you actually get a working one, right? That opens up and down.
Yeah.
So I haven't included that yet, but fingers crossed I'm gonna just at some point I'm just gonna go, gosh, everybody got to have that one. So I got it. Literally, I got a bag. I got a bag of
full of accessories.
Yeah.
Well, I hope they all are able to get funded and shipped out too, because it's an impressive figure. I had the old medieval spawn back in the day, and this one I saw the comparison is few inches more taller. The detail is beautiful. The paint is beautiful.
So there's the magnets you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
So he's got every one of them's going to have magnet on their chest, and you just
I like that. Yeah.
Right.
I love that.
You literally just touch it and it goes on. You don't have to snap or break something. You just pull it off.
Yeah.
Pull it off.
Snaps never work.
Yeah. So like the magnets are working good, and there's magnets on the arms for the gauntlets and for the shields and stuff like that. So. I think there's some fun stuff with it, right? Look at the mace, man. Who don't want a mace here, right?
Huge mace.
Yeah,
shoot, and I'm telling you, those spikes, they're sharp.
Yeah, really.
Right? Like, I mean, I'm telling you, like you whack me with that.
Yes.
Like that one, like that'll hurt a little bit, right?
It's not for your kid to play with the dog.
Don't give these to your kids. Nope.
Yeah.
And it comes with an exclusive comic book that out in the open market probably is worth $25. Just the comic book.
Really? Absolutely.
So if you're not a comic book geek, to open your toy, take out the comic book, put it on eBay, get your $25 and reduce your cost of the figure down $25 with one
there
move.
You go.
Absolutely.
There you go. You're making your money.
I like it. You put a lot of thought into it, and it shows. And that's for the price, it's a great figure, a great set to have. What made you want to go with medieval spawn next for your second project?
One of the silver boxes came in because I had the red box, but the silver box just came in today.
Oh wow!
Oh,
right. So here's the box. Man, again, it comes
okay.
The packaging is impressive. Yeah.
So again, we've got the red and the green, and then you open it up, and then you've got all the pieces and all the foam, and it's like I don't know. I'm biased. Take it for what it's worth. But I've been around this project for a while. It is way cooler in person, right? Like,
absolutely.
I can show it to you, and we got some good photos. But once you sort of see all of it with your own eyes, it's pretty fun. It's a pretty fun project.
Which one do you prefer, the blue or the black?
I like the blue. But again, that's sort of the original toy, design. Right? So I just like, oh man. For Spawn, their OG, it was the black because that's the color he came with originally. So I'm just partial to the original color.
That's cool. Yeah.
Okay.
So another thing we didn't want to let you get out of here without praising you for. We really loved the Superpowers line that you resurrected.
Oh yeah.
And have been put it out. Those are fun, man. It's great to walk into a store, see that back on the shelves, and see new characters that people didn't have a chance to get before, in addition to the ones that they did. How do you guys sort out and decide who are going to go in the future waves when you do that?
Well, first off, let's just talk superpowers as a whole. It's interesting because the superpowers are sort of the kind of looking toys that got me into the toy business to start with, right?
Right.
Why are toys so simple? Why they only have a couple moving parts? Why can't we do this, right? And so every time I make a superpower, there's a little bit of I've got a little bit of a twitch because I'm like, what are you talking about? I can do that, right? I can do that, and I have to simplify it intentionally, which goes against most of my instincts. But it fits the pattern of that nostalgia and that original line that's in there. How we pick the figures, a lot of it is just going back to the well and some of the stuff that kind of worked the first go around and bringing those characters back. And then the other one is, well, what were some of the old characters that never got made? And now you can have the fun and say, well, what's a character that didn't even exist when that line was made that would be fun to put into that style, right? That form factor, whatever you want to call it. And how we come up with it, probably the same way as if I said, hey, I want you two guys to come up with 10 figures for it. You'd probably be about 70-80% the same list that I would have, right?
Sure.
And then we just would differentiate on the sort of the geeky ones at the bottom of the list.
Yeah, the edgy minor characters that everybody loves. You know?
Yeah.
At least you kept the price down on them also, so I appreciate that because most toys now are $20, $25, and I think those run for about 10
to 15.
Yeah. Well, they're not overly complicated, right?
Right.
So I mean, as you can see, so I look at I've had a 40-year career in art, and I think that one of the pieces of the recipe is that you don't take advantage of the consumer, right? If they're going to be loyal to you, you got to be loyal back. Yeah. And I'm not a public company, so I don't have to maximize profits every 90 days. That's not my task. My task is to try and create enough success so that I can keep doing it. And I've had the luxury of doing it now for 40 years. So one of the ways to do that is put out a quality product as cheap as possible, right? And people will respond to that. And then if you add the third piece, which is a brand on top of it, right? Because you can have success just with quality at a fair price, but you put a brand on top of that, like that works every single time. So why I'm good. I'm good. I've raised my kids and they're out of the house, right? My wife and I, we got a car in the house. We're good. So we don't need more. And I'm not required to make more like a public company. And so let's just be as fair as possible. And I think that people understand that, and they'll go, oh, you know what? Todd's not trying to pick our pockets all the time. So we'll be loyal to him. And now we're 30 years in the toy business, right?
Absolutely. And as consumers, we appreciate that. It makes me feel like I would be more motivated to go and get, a McFarlane toy over something that, other companies that don't listen to fans so intently, that would do.
Well, even on a basic business level, right? Even on that if I'm going to give you a chocolate candy bar like this for $1, and my competitor is giving you that same size chocolate bar and it's $1.50 or $2, I don't know. Take the cheaper chocolate bar. Right. So if you're thinking about sampling something that we make at our company, why not make it as easy for them to enter into that curiosity of theirs as possible? And the way you do that is price, right?
Absolutely.
All things being equal, if yours is $1 cheaper, it should matter.
That's true. Absolutely.
That's true. That's good.
And in the same respect, the Batman 66 line you're doing is showing the same kind of innovation as the Superpowers line. You've got new characters. You've got, characters that were never on the show, but it's fun to see what they would look like if they were.
Yeah, because at some point you again with Batman 66, you run out of the core, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And so you're just going, well, what if? Right now you're doing a little bit of what if. But it's a fun line. That's a fun line to experiment with too. So we're having, and again, I was a big fan of that TV show. So I I kind of get a kick out of those figures because those are the kind of toys that I was collecting when I was a kid. I'm going to show my age, right? So I was like, man, I would have bought these if I was 8 or 10 years old, man. So
I had the Migos, back in the day.
Yeah, right, sure. Yep. Yeah.
So, and now you've moved into doing the statuesque, the Marvel kind of figures in the 2 size scales. So you're doing, you got DC, you got Marvel. Did you ever foresee a day where you had, you're making your stuff and you're making DC, Marvel movies? I mean, did you ever see it getting to this level?
Every day I was in the toy business, I was hoping I'd get to that. It just took me 25 years to finally get there. So I don't give me credit. I took the long path to get there. Because
that's okay.
It seemed like everybody else in the industry had a piece of both those brands except for me. There were 3 brands, Marvel, DC, and Star Wars. It seemed like everybody, when I go to Toy Fair every year, everybody's got a piece of at least one of those, except for me. I felt like an orphan every year. We were fortunate enough to be able to get the DC piece of it in 2020. Began in 2020, and then the conversation with Marvel started as silly as because they just keep shaving and coming up with categories,
right?
So my silly approach to them was, I understand you don't want to trip over existing properties and you don't want to water it down and whatever, but I'll create a new category for you. McFarlane Toys making art by Todd McFarlane, and McFarlane owns the McFarlane company, and McFarlane will sign the McFarlane stuff. You can't replicate that with anybody else.
Exactly, right.
So it would be its own little piece, and you won't trip over anybody else's contract, right? But they were kind enough. They went, yeah, that sounds cool. Because I thought at first it would just be I'd have to do like basically only sort of stuff that was based on my artwork during my time at Marvel. But then they opened up the doors wider than that and said, here, you can take a look at our entire library if you want. And I was like, wow, that was way more than I thought. So thank you. So now I get to do, modern hot artists. I get to do some of my peers, and I get to do some of the people that inspired me when I was a young artist, just breaking into the business.
That's incredible. I cannot wait to see what comes next from that line.
And if you got DC and Marvel, I'm crossing my fingers for Star Wars or Hasbro. It needs some new blood in Star Wars. I'm like, just the same thing over and over.
We would love to see what McFarlane would do with Star Wars.
Well, but again, to sort of tip my hat to the big companies, they do serve a tremendous value in that they're everywhere and they can blanket a planet, right? They have tens of thousands of people and hundreds and hundreds of offices spread around, and so the art part, I agree, at times falls a little short for me. But they get it in front of consumers, and so right, nobody's gonna I can deliver art. I think I can deliver art better than them by far. But I'm not gonna have the reach of, if you go into Spain, that they're gonna be able to figure out how to get it in a few more places than I am. So.
Right, definitely.
And you had the fan questions.
Yes, we got fan questions.
Can you take a couple of fan questions for us?
Yeah, we'll wrap up with the fan questions. I picked 5 of hopefully the best ones. Let me give you just a second. I had it all ready to go.
Again, we certainly appreciate you including us in this, taking some time out, while you're signing.
Yeah. I'm surprised that you can sign. Well, I would have been screwed it up. I haven't seen you throw one behind you yet, so I'm guessing you.
No, I've screwed half of them up, and I've been talking to you.
It's our fault if somebody. So if somebody.
I don't know who Tom. I don't even know who Tom McFarlane is. So I'm just like,
just write "blame Junkman" on the back.
I hope you got good muscles on those fingers, because I couldn't sign that many. I couldn't do it. Okay, with the new Marvel license, since we just talked about that, will you be able to make posable figures in any other scale? Yeah,
so the license doesn't allow. I'm not doing I I guess it depends on how you use the word posable. They're fixed poses, right?
Oh, okay. That's right.
So again, we refer to them as Marvel collectibles, right? Because again, there's no articulation or any of that. But within that, like I said earlier, within that license, I have access to anything that they've done in their library, as long as they approve it. And that's a big library going all the way back to 1962, right? So,
and it's more like a piece of art too. When it's a sculpture like that, it's kind of nice. It's an affordable piece of art for the fan.
Yeah. Well, if you look at, interestingly, if you look at like some of the early stuff I did when we first came out of the gate as McFarlane Toys or early on, most of my stuff was kind of posable, right? I mean, I didn't really have a lot of articulation. That sort of came late in the game, right? I mean, if you look at especially things like all my sports figures, the sports
and
pics,
movie maniacs,
the movie maniacs and stuff, there were very few moving parts. We were just going for art. I used to call them plastic statues all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we're sort of going back to that same method with the Marvel collectibles now, and just go, oh, which pose do we want to use, and what artwork and what influence do we want to do, and what can we add to it, and do we want to pull it from a cover, or do we want to pull it from an interior piece of artwork? Like, what's the coolest thing that we can do? So we're just trying to have a little bit of fun with it, right? Like we did one recently with Wolverine, and I did a Jim Lee one, but we did one that was based on my artwork. I did a cover, I think it was Incredible Hulk 340. It's a close up, kind of like me here, and it's Wolverine screaming, and he's got his blades open, and reflected on the blades is Hulk, right? So we took that and we extrapolated it into a full body. And so now you get like the full Wolverine screaming. But if you look closely on the toy, we painted the reflection of the Hulk and his blades. Just
that
like
is incredible.
I want to see.
I have not laid eyes on that yet. That is amazing.
Yeah. So again, just fun, goofy stuff that you can do. Sometimes it's something in the background. Sometimes it's something that they're holding, but and then some of them we're trying to do a little bit of black artwork on it, so it has a little bit of an illustrative look to it, right?
Right.
So,
Okay. Question 2: will you be making an ultimate set of all the Batman movie Batmobiles?
Oh man, that would be a big box.
Wouldn't it be nice though?
It would be pretty cool.
Yeah. So it would. You know what? It'd be fun because we did sort of the Batman actors, right?
Right. Yeah.
Movies. Let me think. I'd have to think about how we could even ship that, and you wouldn't have to basically do an addition to your house to have it. So
you did great with the '89 one. So
yeah, they're really good. Okay. Why did he have to make the DC Multiverse figure 7-inch so they didn't scale with the existing 8-inch DC Multiverse figures?
Because I never have been somebody who follows somebody else's path.
Nah.
Right. So when we first came in and we first did Spawn for the first time, these were bigger than what was out in the marketplace. Right.
Right.
I'm not concerned about what other people did, because if I was happy with it, then why am I doing something? I don't know. And again, I understand it can be aggravating because it's like it doesn't all match up. But I don't even factor in what my competitors did in the past. That's I don't like when I do a comic book of Spawn. I don't like gun to my head. I don't know what Marvel and DC are doing with their comic books today.
Right. Sure.
Right. So I just go, well, what can we do? What sort of makes sense for us? What would be sort of a decent scale at a fair price? And you just go. And I understand people going, well, yeah, but then you get more continuity. But I'm not required to do it. So I'm not doing it out of spite, and I'm not doing it because I think what I'm doing is any better than anybody else. We just make choices like they make choices. And sometimes people agree with those choices or they don't.
I got you.
Makes sense.
Okay. Will you do any play sets in the McFarlane Superpowers line?
We've been talking about it.
Okay.
So
like
yes, the conversation has been ongoing.
Yeah. A carrying case would be nice. Nobody does carrying cases.
Yeah, right. Remember, you used to fold them up, right? You open them up and you fold them up, and you got the handle. Yeah, I used to have.
Yeah, that would be very good.
All of justice, just saying. No.
Okay, one more fan question here. Any updates on when we might see a new live-action Spawn movie?
I don't. Yeah, nothing formal. We're out to directors now. We have the, just, before San Diego, we announced that we had a script in the first draft of a script in. So we're out to a director right now, hoping, fingers crossed, that they show interest in it. But we're taking a big swing at some of the people on our list, because they can either be busy, or they're working on something, or they've made a commitment to something else, and so you then, unfortunately, at times you just go, oh, okay. But luckily, there's a lot of talent in that city, right? So you can't go wrong, right? There's usually on everybody's list 8 or 10 people that if you got any of them, you'd be thankful that you could get any of them. So, but hopefully we'll find that one here in the next month or two, and then we'll go and sell the project into Hollywood.
Oh, that'd be great. I'm going to ask you something we debated to ask you or not, so I'm going to ask him. We heard a rumor that Todd Toy changed its name because Mattel was upset that Barbie had her brother named Todd. Is that true?
Yeah, I'll show you the legal letter if you want. So.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe
it. I actually have. I don't even know if it's in my office. I keep the Todd toy, the Mattel Todd toy, which is the little baby guy. To go, wow, they think that's going to get confused with Tortured Souls. Man, I don't know about that, but
it sounds a little petty, a little suspect to me.
Yeah, anyway, they were.
I didn't even know Barbie had a brother.
I didn't either. I had no idea Barbie had a brother, and his name was Todd. So I don't see how that would get confused.
I didn't even know until I got the letter going. I don't even know what they're talking about. But in hindsight, let me say that I think it is a better, kind of smarter to actually, unless you got a pizzeria or something, to actually use your last name, right? So Turner Broadcasting, right?
Sure.
So it wasn't Ted Broadcasting, although there's TED Talks, but I don't know. I just McFarlane makes way more sense because a lot of people got Todd as their first name.
Yeah, so blessing in disguise. Yeah,
it works out okay. And I usually sign with a big McFarlane when I sign too. So
yeah, that's a lot better. So, we got anything else?
No, so the Medieval Spawn Kickstarter is live now. It's got about 9 days left. We're going to put a link to it in the description.
Yeah. Again, we're trying to be as transparent as possible. And if you just go look, like I said, especially if you go in between now and the last day, on the last day, you're going to be the most educated because you're going to be able to go, okay, I got 24 hours. What has been added since the beginning? And then you'll be able to go, oh, okay, I get all of that. Is that something that is of value or interest to me?
So. Absolutely.
Okay, that's good. Well, I want to thank you for coming on and giving us your time. And I know you got a lot to do, a lot of time, a lot of nameplates
to sign. Yeah.
Nobody is more sick of their name than this guy right here. I am sick of that name. But we want to make sure that it's legible and it's nice signature for people. If they're going to pay for it, give them a nice signature.
And it's not an easy signature. It's one of the most dynamic signatures. It's well known and everything. So I mean,
and that nameplate's not that big to write on. So I would
look at here. I'll pat myself on the back a little bit. My signature over the years, it can fit. You give me any space, I can fit it. Right. So in this case, this is like long and skinny, right? So then I go, I got to do the long and skinny bird, but I can do the stacked version. I can do the side by side sort of one where I do some big drops on it. Like I've got 5 or 6 different permutations of it and they all look the same, right? So it's not like you go, oh, that's a different signature. It's just that I can't drop like the M and the F down as far as I normally would.
Right.
And the E comes down a lot further, right? But I've gotten pretty innovative that you give me a space, I'm going to give you a nice signature and it's going to be recognizable.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And it's a great thing to include for the for some of the tiers on the Kickstarter to make people want to pull the trigger. It's a nice addition to have. It's a nice thing to go along with such a beautiful figure. So
Yeah. Well, again, I want to thank you for coming on, talking to us and everything. So,
all right. I appreciate
you
your time, gentlemen. Yeah, I wish you guys all the best of luck in your future too.
Thank you.
You
Any
as
other
well.
time you want to promote anything, just reach out. We're happy to have you.
All right. Be good.
Okay.
Take it easy.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Todd McFarlane. That was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And if you're interested in that medieval Spawn line, maybe even get a nameplate that McFarlane signed while you was watching this interview, you can head over to his Kickstarter. Still plenty of time to support the medieval Spawn line. A link to the Kickstarter will be in the description below. And because I'm a nice guy, I'll also pin it in the comments section. Thank you for watching.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.